All right. We're good to go. So, Dre, thank you for snagging this awesome guest. And
I know.
Thank you. Ian, how do you pronounce your name? How do you prefer to pronounce your name?
Yeah. Is it Ian or Ian?
Ian.
That's what I thought.
Good, because only those pretentious California people call it Ian. Right.
So true. The only Ians I know are totally pretentious douchebags. So.
I've never met an Ian before. I have been called Ian by somebody I know from Germany. So.
Okay.
Oh, maybe there's pretentious douchebags in Germany too.
We'll let it go. But thank you so much for being here.
I couldn't possibly comment.
So, Dre, how did you find us, Ian? How did we get so lucky to have you here this week?
I know. Well, I think we first connected on Google Plus, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think it was.
Cool Kids Circle on Google Plus, which a couple people allowed me in, and Ian was one of them. And then he took part in some of my roundups, and then I stalked him over on Twitter, and now I pretty much stalk him wherever he is. And here's a side note. Besides being a social media connector and a badass relationship builder, he is a singer.
Really?
And I only figured that out when I stalked him down on Facebook. And he did, what did you do for Christmas? You did like the 12 days or something? Like you sang live, not live, but sang on Facebook every day. I was like, that bird has balls that I can't.
I don't know how it came about, but I just decided one day to, because I'm a bit of a procrastinator, and I thought, let's just do something a bit fun. So I just decided to sing the bass line, because I trained as a classical singer. So I sang the bass line for all these Christmas carols, and people had to guess which Christmas carol it was. And then in the evening, my wife and I would then sing the whole thing. So it was just a bit of fun.
It was awesome. Nice. You had me cracking up and going like, not even for $1 million would I do it, but I am not trained.
You should.
Singing.
This should be the next thing.
No, we should accept our weaknesses, and I'm not even a shower singer, so we'll move on from that. But so tell us a little bit about you, Ian. Besides being the social connector, what are you really all about these days?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm particularly interested in the techie side of social media and being how you can become more effective and productive, because quite frankly, I think a lot of us are feeling overwhelmed. A lot of businesses are feeling overwhelmed with how much noise there is and how they can make their voices known. So that's kind of my passion, but also taking the kind of technical side of social media and trying to make it easy to understand for most people. And I really enjoy that. I really enjoy connecting with people and just being real with people, like we're kind of doing now. And that's the great thing about Blab and all these video platforms now, such as Facebook Live and Snapchat. We can just, get beyond our computer screens and actually talk to people like we're doing now.
I agree.
Yes.
And I love that it sort of ended the era of the crisp white screen of like really produced videos that are not real, and I cannot relate to you and your yacht in the background and shit like that. So I'm right there with you. So let's dive into social media. How did it lead from having your brand and needing visibility on social media? How did you get to be such a social master?
I wish I could say I had a kind of solid strategy from the beginning, but that would be a total lie. I think like most of us in this, it's kind of, finding your feet and messing around and playing with things. And I've always been a bit of a geek, interested in computers and technology. And when social media came about, so I was an early adopter on Twitter back in 2006, and I just messed around with it. I made mistakes, and I got to know other people and built those relationships with people. And so over time, I've just learnt all the ways how you should use social media, but I've also learned all the ways you shouldn't use social media as well. So back in the day when Twitter started, I remember setting up those automated direct messages on Twitter saying, thank you for following me. I thought it was like a really cool thing.
Yeah.
And then I realized, no, that's not a good idea. And I've since found out that, setting up these automated direct messages, although it seems like a good idea, you're actually probably increasing the number of people that are going to unfollow you I think the last statistics, I mean, this is one of the things I mentioned in my talk last week at Social Media Marketing World. I think the research shows that your unfollow rate will go up by 235% if you do that. So yeah, it's about learning your mistake, learning from your mistakes, and then looking at the detail. And I'm this is a good thing and a bad thing, but I'm quite a details person, so I tend to go into kind of insane detail on how the different platforms work, and try and work out how to get the most out of a particular platform. So that's kind of my background. I mean, I run a web agency. I build websites as well, so I've kind of got that techie side of me. But as you already know, I'm kind of quite arty, and my background is also singing. So I like to kind of bring both sides, kind of the left and the right side of my brain, into this.
Yeah, you definitely have the right and the left side. And I have to say, I am one that judges and unfollows immediately upon the Twitter direct message receipt. Like, I am a direct message hater with that, or the automatic message, not direct message. So you broke that one down, which I love. Like, no, don't do automated messages. What are two other of the biggest social blunders that folks are making right now? Like, top tier, kind of across the board, just social etiquette that needs to be stopped.
Well, let's think. There's two ones that come to mind. The first is treating social media as 100% selling machine. So you get straight onto whatever social network, and you might say one kind of introductory thing like hello, la la la, but then you're kind of like, buy my thing, check out this, and da 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 da. And it's kind of like, hold on a minute, we've just met. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that in real life. And even more so these days, we've got to get to know people before you earn the right to be able to sell your stuff. And so I think that's the first thing. And I would have thought that I would be seeing less of that these days. That most people were kind of understanding the nature of social media and content marketing, but I keep seeing it, and I think that's the first thing I think people need to get away from. The second thing is. What was I going to say? Yeah, is kind of bad automation. So we've already discussed the automatic direct message, but it's just any form of automated engagement, and I still get these in email. I just received an email from somebody who wants me to check out their kind of new shiny tool, and it's so obvious they've just sent this email out to kind of hundreds of people because apparently they've read a blog post I've written, which it's kind of pasted in there somehow. And so I think it's easy to want to cut corners. We are overwhelmed, but ultimately the only thing that works on social is building those relationships, and it takes time. I've been working so hard for the past 5 years, and I've only really seen the benefits of all that hard work really in the past year and a half. It's taken time. So I wish I could give a kind of quick fix and a magic wand, but you've got to be in this long haul, and you've got to put in some hard work.
Well,
automation is a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, and you have to stop thinking of the online world as different than the real world, right? I mean, I think too many people have this line that it's like, oh, well, like you said, you wouldn't do these things to people that you just went up and met, like spew about your products. Like, I don't even tell them I have a business. It's not like I'm an entrepreneur and I do branding. It's like, we have to treat online like it's the bar. Like, you go to the bar and you don't just spew all this shit at someone about how they can buy your crap when they don't even know who the hell you are, or if they want to buy you a drink, let alone buy your fucking shit. So I think the big thing is to stop looking at social media as anything different than real people trying to connect.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, the thing is, let's be fair about this. The problem is, I think as humans, we're kind of, I don't know, we're made to relate to each other in the real world. So when we get behind a computer screen, I think we kind of lose that in our heads, and I think we need to remind ourselves. We need to remind each other. It's the same way, like if you get into a car, I know lots of people are really calm people. They get behind the wheel, and sticking their fingers up at everyone, and
that's California. That's every highway in California.
Well, I don't know. I've not driven in California, I'm sure, but
don't.
Yeah.
Save yourself some sanity.
So And, I think the other thing is, like, especially if you come from a broadcast background like me, you have to really change your mindset of, like, this is not a one-to-many broadcast. It's got to be two-way interaction. And that's not that easy for some people to accept. And especially with the video stuff, now it's more important because you're kind of face-to-face on Blab or Facebook Live or whatever platform you're using. So do you have a favorite platform? I mean, because I know you've been on for a while and tried different things. I mean, Blab's relatively new. Facebook Live's fairly new.
Well, I still don't have Facebook Live. I've got it on my page, so I think I'll probably just kind of use it on my page. But I don't know. I think Facebook hates me basically because I still don't. Everyone I know has it. But anyway, I think Facebook Live is going to be huge, and I'm definitely keeping my eye on that. I think Periscope is still going to be going on, for the foreseeable future. I have used Periscope, but I find it really hard because, quite frankly, I just feel awkward speaking to it feels like I'm speaking to myself. And I just feel, I don't know. It's not the natural platform for me, but I think what I always say to people when they get onto Periscope, make sure you plan, make sure you know what you're talking about. And don't worry about the statistics, because you're either going to get really stressed because there's only one person watching, or suddenly like 100 people come in and you think, oh my,
now what?
So yeah, so I think those are kind of interesting platforms. I personally prefer Blab because we can bounce ideas off each other. You're talking to me, you're asking questions, I can ask you questions. It just feels more natural to me. But I do like Blab, and I should do it more often. I don't do as much as I should, but bizarrely for me, I'm so not the target demographic for this, but I kind of am afraid to admit this, but yeah, Snapchat. I've actually thought
to say that.
I know, and I'm sorry because it seems like it's a kind of a cliche. Everyone is going on about it, and it almost made me want to run away from Snapchat because everyone's saying, "Oh, you need to try it; it's amazing."
Yeah, that's me.
And I think so. I gave it a go, and for me, I'm interested in the tech. I'm interested in the nuts and bolts. How does it work? Why is it popular? And I found myself actually the user interface is horrible. And there's so many things that suck about it. But for me, I'm a perfectionist. And I think Snapchat is so not about being perfect that it just allows me to create content really, really easily. And also connect with people on a really kind of more genuine way. So I'm finding I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, there's a lot of crap on Snapchat, don't get me wrong, but I've found I've really been able to kind of cement and build those relationships and just have a bit of fun and share my thoughts on a day-by-day basis. So sorry to say that.
Snapchat's fun because you can be goofier, and my kids are always doing the trading faces thing and all the stupid little gimmicks, but I think that's part of what makes it kind of fun and easy to use.
Yeah.
So when you're getting started as a brand or blogger, do you subscribe to the, really focus on one to maybe two platforms, or what's sort of the best strategy to start as far as to really make, your mark on a platform or your mark in the social world?
I think there's a number of factors here. The first is, you've got to... You're running your own business. So, in an ideal world, you'd go on all the platforms and you do all those amazingly well. I certainly think you should at least have some presence on all the networks, because as your business grows, you want to make sure that your username is registered in all the networks. But yeah, I think concentrate on one or two at the start and make sure you're doing those really, really well. Make sure that you are comfortable in at least one of those platforms. But the other thing that I would say is make sure you do some research and find out where are your potential customers? Where did they hang out? So you might be a real Twitter fan. You just might love the platform, but if none of your potential buyers or clients are there, then you might be wasting your time. You might be best trying another platform where those potential clients are. And the other factor to kind of think about is look at your competitors and what are they doing. So again, to give an example, they might be have really conquered Facebook. They might be reaching people on Facebook and they're doing an amazing job. And it kind of doesn't matter how well you think you can do on Facebook, you're never going to be as good as them. So maybe think about looking at a network where your competitors aren't so prominent, and make sure you're doing a really good job there. So there's a number of things to think about, and it's just a case of doing your research, really.
And I was going to say, so besides looking at your competitors, what are different ways that you can figure out where the hell your peeps are?
Well, I suppose the way is to search for, for example, Twitter's a good one. So search for your keywords, find out what people are searching for on Twitter or talking about. Use a tool. One of the tools I used to recommend was called Twitterland. It's now called Clear with a K, Klear. I still recommend it, but it's actually really expensive now. So if you're a bigger brand, then I would certainly recommend Clear, because you can analyze what your competitors are doing and where your likely visitors are going to be. There's probably a few other tools as well that you can try just to make sure you're doing that research and find out where people are.
And I think you're going to get, you get to see where you put stuff out there and where does it resonate. If you do a couple of periscopes and, you hear crickets, then maybe that's not your thing. Or then you do Facebook Live and suddenly you've got a whole bunch of folks on there, then maybe that's more your...
Well, that's a really good point, yeah.
Yeah, so, and knowing where... Because there's probably multiple platforms that they're on, and like you said, besides just having your presence on there, it's knowing which one they're on plus the ones you like. Like you said, your peeps might be on Periscope, but Periscope might not be your thing. And you have to enjoy the platform you're on. I see too many people trying to conquer platforms because people told them they need to be on it, and they're fucking awful. Like, if you can't do images, get the hell off Pinterest, because you're just fucking making it up. So Denver's asking a really techie question that is over my head. It's Facebook, Instagram articles, and AMP pages via PageFrog plugin. Has Ian looked into it? That's like German. That's Latin. Yeah. So
Facebook instant articles.
The quick answer to that is no, I haven't. But my follow up to that is I'm planning to look into it. And there's a couple of plugins for WordPress. There's the Facebook plugin for WordPress, and I don't know whether it is PageFrog. It probably is. I'm assuming it is. That's the other one. And there's pros and cons with both, from what I gather. This is what we're seeing more of now. Is that this is kind of where I feel comfortable. It is publishing on my own blog, and then getting people to my blog, and then getting people to sign up for my newsletter, and then connecting with them that way. But we're seeing more and more now that Facebook doesn't want that to be the case. Facebook want people to stay on Facebook. And so instant articles is really their way of doing that. And, we either kind of run a mile and say, no, I don't want anything to do with this, or we kind of, we kind of go for it and, or do both. So I haven't looked into instant articles yet. It is something I'm going to look into, and I've got to get my head around. It's just like there's so many things. Fast moving world that we live in, and I don't really have an answer to whether I think Facebook instant articles is something I want to do, but it's probably something I'm looking into.
Yeah, they're going to continue to shove it down our throats, I think, until they want you to stay, just like YouTube. It's like they don't want you to go away, but ultimately, the blog or your website is the only real estate that you really totally control. So how do you get people from Facebook, Blab, wherever, back to where you control the environment?
It's ads, isn't it? They just want us to pay more money to them. So that's how it's going to work. And I think in a way, there's one advantage with Facebook Instant Articles. It's getting your name out there. It's creating visibility. And it is going to be quite a kind of cultural shift for a lot of us to go that way. I don't think we're seeing the death to our blogs, and I don't think we should be doing that, because we should be still investing in our blog and doing it the traditional way. But who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with instant articles?
Cool.
Preach it. So let's talk some relationship building on social. So what are some non-douchey ways that we can really reach out to people that don't seem forced, or, you know, that we can start the conversation, obviously not expecting to be BFFs in a day, but how do you reach out to someone on social, like a platform like Twitter where you can, and Facebook where you can tag them, or Instagram, and talk to them? Like, what are some things that we can do to open that conversation, or to introduce ourselves, or to celebrate them and get on their radar somehow?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you need to be in for the long haul. So something I've found that works are just people who are very generous with me. So they'll, just on a very light level to begin with, I notice they start liking my posts on Twitter. They'll occasionally retweet it, and they're not necessarily interacting with me. They're not kind of mentioning me or anything, but they are mentioning me, but they're not kind of, actually talking to me. But they're kind of on my radar, and then they'll kind of maybe ask me a question, or they'll have made it known that they've actually read something I've written, and yeah, it's just making what am I trying to say? There are so many opportunities, and I think most of the time we don't take up on those opportunities. So to give you an example, what I see a lot of at the moment is people retweeting the articles, and then people then saying, thank you for that, thank you for doing that, thanks for the RT. And it almost feels, I'm going to admit it, I've done this. You go through all your mentions and your retweets, and you basically copy and paste, thanks for the RT, thanks for the RT, thanks for the RT. And I generally mean thank you, but it ends up just adding to the noise. And so one thing I try and recommend to people, and something I try and do, is don't just thank people on social media, add value. So I've kind of come up with, in my head, a kind of thank you replacement list. So instead of just thanking somebody, ask them about what they're doing that day, or what they're doing that week, or ask them if you can help them. Make a bit of fun, say a joke or whatever. Just kind of be human and connect with people. And I think over time, if your personality comes through, that's how you're going to connect with people on a human level. So it's all about kind of being human. I know it's a bit of a cliche, it's used a lot, but I think you just need to, people relate with other human beings. And so just be yourself and be kind and be sharing online.
Yeah, that's the tough part, because you really have to be there and put in the time. And I think ultimately, what you're saying is, hey, you know what? Take the time to actually connect and relate. I mean, I've seen, like what made, Gary Vaynerchuk famous is that he was actually on there all the time, actually responding and answering people and doing the real thing. I think Dre's trying to get back in, but awesome. And tell us a little bit about, you were just at Social Media World. So what were your impressions from that? Any big takeaways or trends or things like that you could tell us about?
Yeah, so this was my second year going. Last year it was a big deal for me, because I live in the UK, 11-hour flight out there, very expensive to go. But I was so glad I went, because for me it was all about those relationships, meeting people, not so much about learning stuff, but one thing I do find, I always do learn stuff, and you learn about the trends. So the big thing, which probably won't come as a surprise to many, is the big trend we're seeing is live video. So it was Meerkat, now then Periscope, Facebook Live, and Snapchat. Sorry to mention Snapchat again, but we are looking at, in a year, going from 2 billion daily video views to 8 billion, I think it is 7 or 8 billion daily views. So it is mad. And it's not just the younger demographics. It is younger people, but there are a growing number of 35 to 45-year-olds and above that are using that as a platform. But moving forwards, we are looking at not just that. We're looking at 360 video, and virtual reality is going to be the big thing. So it was cool to see. There's quite a lot of people with 360 cameras. There's a guy, I don't know if you come across Martin Shervington, but he's a kind of big Google Plus guy, and he was there doing interviews with his 360 camera, and it was really, really cool. It was really interesting. So we're going to be, what are the business implications? How business is going to use this? It's something to be worked out. But Facebook Live is interesting because, they're really embracing 360 with, I can never pronounce it. It's Oculus Rift, is that right?
Oh, right, exactly, yep.
Yeah, and we're now Facebook Live is going to be able to integrate with drones. So we're going to and kind of all these other cameras you can plug in. So it's just mad. I think this is a really exciting time to live. Just seeing all this kind of technology just ballooning, and where it's going to go, I don't know. But it's going to be really interesting to see how businesses are going to adopt all these different things. Very
exciting. Very cool. Do you want to pop your website or blog into the message box and tell us at the same time, if you don't mind, where folks can find you and learn more about you?
You're asking me to multitask, though.
I know. I'm sorry. I should have done that myself. But Dre usually does.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So, my website is iag.me. So that's my initials, Ian Anderson Gray, iag.me, which I'll put in the chat there. And you can follow me. And that's why my Twitter handle is iag.me, just to confuse people.
Thank you so much. That's awesome. So I hope you had a good time in the U.S. last week. I'm on the East Coast, Dre's on the West Coast. They were in San Diego, right, for Social Media Marketing World?
Yeah, that was right. I could get used to the weather.
Something like 3,000 people. So I think it's a lot of what happens in the hallways is probably just as interesting as what happens in the
yeah, definitely. I mean, that is the main reason for me to going is all those people. It was, last year it was kind of like, I know, Dre, you were talking about Google Plus. We met in Google Plus, and I think Google Plus, even today, has got that real kind of close-knit community. And going to Social Media Marketing World felt like that. It was kind of like, oh my goodness, like look over there, it's Martin Shervington, it's Mike Alton. I felt like a little kid in a candy store. It was like ridiculous. I
wanted to go so bad last year because I had started connecting, and you're right, like the people on Google Plus. Like the depth that the relationship and the realness goes on Google Plus is amazing. So, and I know so many of them go. So that's all I'm jealous about, really. People make me tired. But you guys drinking all at the bar after the presentations every night and taking the antic shenanigan-ridden photos is like pure jealousy for me.
Well, really. there was a lot of FOMO going on. It's interesting you say people tire you, because I think people tire me as well. I mean, I love spending time with people. But I need to kind of retreat from that. I'm probably an ambivert, but probably more of an introvert. And I think probably 80% of the people at Social Media Marketing World are all introverts. I think the cool thing about it is that we all went there. We didn't have to do any of the small talk. We could just get in and get into the deep conversations, and I really valued that. It was really cool. So, and you can always just like go back to your hotel room and just like be antisocial, like I was one evening.
I need to do that. I need to go decompress. I think Dre's a closet introvert, but she just won't tell us. So
no, I am an introvert. I'm just a foul-mouthed, opinionated, loud introvert. And I'm definitely like, people exhaust me, and I like to stay in my cave pretty much 24/7. So that is really not a secret. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And don't worry, because you now have an even bigger stalker out of me. But I'm sorry I can't stalk you on Snapchat. I'm the one that's running because anything popular makes me nauseous.
I understand. Well, we'll see. I'm not going to force you, because that it's kind of like the Mac and PC. I'm a PC user, but I'm kind of slowly going towards getting a Mac next time. But it's all these Mac fanboys that keep saying, it's the best thing, and that kind of makes me want to run the other way. I'm getting there.
That's the rebel in us. We're like, no, I'm not going to follow mainstream. But you kick ass, and I think you put your URL in there. So everybody go pop over to his website, connect with him.
iag.me.
Yes, follow him, learn from him. Thank you again, Ian. You are amazing. And so we will see everybody next week. What are we talking next week? I know I have this out.
I'll check the schedule.
I don't know. Same time, same place. We'll figure it out. See you then. Bye, guys.
Thanks, you guys. Bye. Take care, Ian.